Sessions at sunrise, a way to begin every morning. Most mornings, I'm up to see the sun. I'm used to thinking and feeling in words. Living in words, my world is living and the world is living me. I wonder what will animate me today or what will go away. I find myself in the realm of a hope dealer. I have no suit to put on, just learning to be me, not fancy, just a lot clearer. Am I doing all I can to preserve great leaders? Am I doing all I can to bring great parents to children and great leaders to organizations? I ask the emerging sunrise to release me from shunning the mystery. The world does not have to be beautiful to work, but it is. So let's meet it where it is, pay close attention to things, and see possibility. Welcome to Sessions at Sunrise. You're listening to JD. This is the VIP Coach, and you're listening to the podcast, Sessions at Sunrise. I appreciate you being here with me and the opportunity to speak with you today. You are a learner, an entrepreneur, you are a professional creator, and you just don't want to lower your standards. I mean, you're out to really create something that really, really matters to you. That's probably why you're tuning in, is you're looking for resources, you're looking for guidance on how to better create what really is most important to you in business, in your own personal aspirations, your relationships, your finances, your health, all the above, because you do not want to settle. Now, as a coach of over 20 years and having done 28,000 coaching sessions, I've come to some very interesting realizations. And one of the things, the questions that seems to always come up for me is, how does a smart person who knows a lot, has all this experience, how does someone with all this experience really learn? Because as leaders, I think one of our best aspects to become more valuable, to become more relevant to our relationships, is listening. And why do we listen? We listen because we care. We really care about something that another person wants, another person needs, another person holds sacred. And so we ourselves, we in our own being, in the deeper places within us, in our greatest sources of awareness, we can hold a space where creations come from how we make sense of things, how we make sense of our own intentions, how we make sense of the experiences that life holds. This is the blind spot. It's the blind spot of leadership, is our real innate capacity to show up and be able to process what we have experienced by reflection. As I've said before, you can reflect on the actions that you took. You can reflect on the experiences that you're delivered right now, in the here and now, in the present. You can reflect and think on things that you want to create. You can orient yourself to the future. But I think there's a deeper listening. There's a listening that all my life, if I were to look at the thread, through everything that I have made sense of, everything I've experienced, there's an incredible kind of knitting, a fabric, a canvas that seems to be connecting. And if you look, if I go back every 5 years, I can see that out of the experiences I took in, especially in music, in the ambient music that I learned to listen to, there's this thread of peripheral listening, a more holographic listening, a listening that came from the space itself. Now, as I say this to you, this must come across kind of weird. Like, what is peripheral listening? How does that work? Why does that matter to me? How does that apply to creating what matters to me? I hope you're asking that. And the way I look at it is, when we are where we are, when we are engaging in the life that's here, the present, this place to be, that there is an opportunity to integrate more of what the surroundings, like a surround sound, being wired for sound, are actually telling us, cueing us, signaling to us. It's the quality of attention that we give it. It's as if reality had a conversational nature to it. And it's this conversational nature that we can learn to gather, not from a place of knowing, but from a place of emptiness, from a place of coming at life with our own responsibility to maintain our inexperience, as if we see things with fresh eyes. And that's an opportunity. It's not just a responsibility as a leader to hold space like that, but to be able to really offer ourselves to what's here as if we were in a naked conversation. Now, some of what we experience is going to work. Some of what we experience sucks. People die. Things happen to us. People get sick. We get old. Things go well, and we're on the path, and we're gaining what we expect, and suddenly they take a turn. Life is messy therapy. It has all sides to it. And in the geometry of life, what we can discover is a sense in ourselves of holding the space and making contact with whatever arises. It's not about changing our attitude. It's not about attitude, latitude, or any of that stuff. We don't need to be reacting or responding. We don't need to be in that trying to get some sense of power. It's being powerless. It's knowing that we don't know what is going to come. Coming to terms with mystery and letting go of mastery. Mastery's great. Creating something, we get better at it as we create it. I'm not talking about that. This is something that is in the moment of our living. It's the humanizing quality of our living. It's the part of us that is strong enough to be weak, to be able to tell ourselves the truth, to level ourselves into how powerless we truly are. And I think that honesty of knowing that we do not know scares the living daylights out of us. And that fear is very necessary because it is the seeds of our basic sanity. And we do not know how to live with those moments, the moments that scare us, because we don't know how to be afraid. We're very frightened of fear itself because it gets us to do things. Is that when we react to it, when we are guided by it, it causes us to avoid something, to avoid being humiliated, to avoid looking bad, to avoid failure, to avoid loss, to avoid pain, to avoid dying. And yet, we really do care about where we walk, or else we wouldn't be afraid. We must have some level of respect for ourselves, or we would not be afraid. We want ourselves to be safe. Real fear is pee in your pants. And I know for me, most of the choices that I've made on behalf of things that I'm creating that I don't know how to do, I don't know how to create them. And that's a blast. Because that's the puzzle, right? That's the puzzle that you figure out. And in this session at Sunrise, I challenge you to be a bit more friendly with those states, with the fear that you have. And let go of being afraid and learning how to. No feeling is final, and it will last however long it lasts. It'll come and go like the wind. And you learn how to make contact with a soft landing by reaching it, by touching it, by explaining it to yourself, by teaching yourself that it's part of our current reality. But it's our choice whether to operate from it. You can operate from a bigger place, a place of love, a place of desire, desiring something that matters to you. And in this, somewhere in this, between the current reality of what we are experiencing and what we actually have, good, bad, and ugly, and the desired state of what we want to bring into reality, bring into being, we find ourselves in a real track of learning. Is that relationship between those 2 points becomes the armature and the engine of learning by doing, learning by creating, learning by living, learning by having something happen, and then we learn. because we know the path by walking. Now, as I say these words to you, I'll bear the truth that I hadn't thought about what I'm saying before I just said it. I learn by saying things. We learn by teaching. We learn by saying things. And you know a lot more than you could ever say. But what if, in this space, the right words are listening? What if the right words are listening? What if the words that I'm about to write, the reflections that come to me, what if the words you're about to say in disclosing a loving thought to a friend, or coming home and telling someone how you feel, what if the words are listening themselves? What if they have already kind of been there, but they haven't quite been inherited? I'd like to propose that right words are listening. And so I wrote a piece in my book, Splendid Place, called The Right Words Are Listening. I'd like to share it with you. Regret is the signpost to acceptance of a larger will. As I hit send, the word wife was spelled life. A life is a wife. They talk to each other. Each slip is a universal cue, recalling the temporal side of the minor life. I misspelled word with world. The major life is awake in the mistake. An alternative world is speaking inside me, but the word knew the world was there, not me. That world awaits the words to come into existence. Words are the zealots of an invisible hand. The meaning isn't clear until you've looked behind you. You must hear the hand's voice when the words have and haven't played along. The missing letter is seen through the cracks. It is always there, like a faint figure waving in the distance, singing the melody, invited to entertain a divine meal. Don't forget the hand when the word allures your ownership. Nothing is finite there anyway, so why try to claim it as your own? The words were here way before you came along. They will never, ever lie to you. Only a masquerader would think the words were his own. You know more than can be said. The right words are listening. I think a world lives in a world. You can make a career out of a sentence, because words are things that we assign meaning to. And we can learn to trust that the words that we describe are the ones that find us and play through and summon us in a way that bring us whole. So if I describe my words in being afraid, and I find myself in a moment of fear, sensing danger, feeling that constricted sense as I describe it physiologically, psychologically, as I teach it to myself, perhaps I'm a bit more resourceful. Perhaps I'm invited to that responsive sense of being intimate with my own experience and treating it as an old friend. And so you, the listener, I invite you to live a little more dangerous. And that doesn't mean taking the big risks. It means explaining clearly what risks there are. To teach yourself what is going on. Because the more we tell ourselves the truth, the more we can give ourselves the intelligence that we need, the comprehension, the fuller comprehension, a balanced intelligence, so that we have a better starting point from where we are toward things that we want to create. That we can account for things that are relevant to what we want to create, even when they're difficult, even when they seem impossible, even when we're freaked out. In all those moments, they're just a passing time, a visitor, a word that is listening. Thank you.